Someone in your office says, I slept like a baby, they're not trying. Push on them a little harder. Consumers in great shape. Look at delinquency rates on consumer loans, both credit card and overall consumer loans. And comparing today's numbers, this is a 3-month moving average to the 10-year average. Consumer balance sheets are in great shape. According to the Federal Reserve, household debt's the lowest we've seen in 29 years. Household wealth is the highest we've seen since 2008. The consumers have great balance sheets. They have money. They have savings. How many of you are in sales? Can I see a show of hands if you're in sales? This always amazes me because who in this room isn't in sales? We're all in sales to some manner, some degree, right? But a smattering of you put up your hands that you are actually in sales. What I've just told you is that you have a moral obligation to separate these people from their money. They're in good financial shape. They're not being Americans. Americans, once again, by spending more than they make. Thank goodness. And to look positively Japanese. This is total retail sales. It happens to be excluding automobiles, year-over-year growth rate of 3.2. See the 312 rate of change, that brown number of 3.7, running above the blue line. That's, again, good news. On the lower portion of the chart, you see the 12-month moving total, which has been growing very nicely ever since the recession. The brown line, which is the 3-month moving total trend, you see spikes every year, and we just had a big spike. That big spike is Christmas of every year. Following each big spike, there's a big drop-off. That's when we return our Christmas presents every year. We're in return mode right now, but we're doing it at 3.7% ahead of year-ago levels, adjusted for inflation. We're in good shape. We expect at ITR, we expect that 3.2% blue number isn't going to be maintainable all the way through the year. That because of higher taxes, higher healthcare costs, because of concerns about the future, and it's already showing up in some of the other trends that I haven't shown you, we expect that we're going to start dropping toward that 2.5% level. And while this isn't an econ course, look at this chart a minute. Find on the x-axis, the bottom axis there, the year 2000. Because in 2000, 2001, we had a recession in this country. But you'll notice retail sales never actually went down, either in terms of that blue line or that 12/12 rate of change. We simply saw retail sales no longer growing fast enough, which is why we had the recession. You don't have to have negative numbers to have a difficult economic period. And I'm stressing that to you because I want you to remember 2.5%, 2.5%. You've got to see those numbers for overall retail sales. By the way, this includes electronic sales. This is the S&P 500. And before I give you our take on the S&P 500, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to look at it. You tell me what you think the next major trend is likely to be. Sometimes it's not hard being an economist. Of course, anticipating stock market trends based on gut reaction is never wise. We think that the market is in for some difficulty in 2014 because of what's already happened in the bond market and because of the bad January that's occurred. But that still isn't going to change my macroeconomic outlook of a soft landing for the economy in 2014. Look at this bond market comparison. The bond market, AAA rated bond prices, the green line. And the stock market, as measured by the S&P 500, is the blue line. That green line tells me what to expect in the blue line very, very clearly through time. Yet most people don't know to look at the bond market as an omniscient indicator for the future. Yet it's so much bigger, smarter, and broader and global than the S&P 500. Yet we insist on looking at the S&P 500. Well, I'm telling you the S&P 500 is very likely going to see some downside pressure in 2014. It's already happened in the bond market. No, I am not telling you to get out of the stock market. I'm telling you to protect your profits. I'm telling you where you can, you put in trailing stop loss orders underneath your equity positions. Or if you have a large enough portfolio, then you think about putting collars around your investment positions, using options so that you can still capture some of the upside but minimize the downside. doubt that one of our investment advisory group sponsors here, Verisk, can tell you how to do that. But it's imperative that you protect yourself from the probable downdraft of 2014 without losing the ability to capture the next upside. And don't try and be a market timer. Just try and buy yourself some insurance and be smart about how you are purchasing the equities. Remember the three trends I told you about: demographics, natural resources, and government intervention. I love buying stocks as ETFs or individual stocks. I don't think mutual funds make much sense anymore. I think you should be going with ETFs if you haven't already. The companies that excite me the most are those in the healthcare community, but they're not U.S. healthcare companies, they're international healthcare companies. There's going to be 1 billion more people out there in the future, and they all want healthcare. It is also true that we're getting older as a population. 2/3 of everyone, dig this, I love this number, 2/3 of everyone that was ever 65 years old or older is alive today. Healthcare, huge. In particular, I'm looking for companies to invest in that are involved in eye care and bladder care. Because my research shows that if people can't see where they're being, they'll spend anything to get that problem. It is acyclical. Bring that sort of rocket science to your investment decisions going forward. Housing is slowing in its rate of rise. That's what you see from these rates of change, which are bending down toward zero, the zero being scaled on the left underneath ROC. We think housing starts nationally in 2014 will come in about 4% above year ago levels. 2015 come in more like 12% above 2014, and have some more good, strong out years for 16. 17 flattens out, 18 get a little bit more rise. We are seeing the slowdown in mortgage applications, mortgage originations. We saw a bump in interest rates and we saw a decline in mortgage originations. That is part and parcel with the slowdown in housing activity in 2014. Here in Wisconsin, we have that same slowdown going on. Look at the upper portion of the chart, the rates of change. You have that brown 12.3, which is the 3/4 rate of change, now running below the blue number. That means we are decelerating in our rate of rise. We're going to have a good year, it's just that we're not going to see the same percent increase in 14 that we saw in 13. Here in Appleton and in Oshkosh, because government doesn't separate that data out, the last 3 months we've seen a 34.6% decline in building permits. This is very volatile data, as the chart suggests, particularly over the last several years as the numbers have gotten even smaller. Could very easily bounce up, but the national trend suggests that we're going to see more disappointing quarters than we are surprise upside quarters in 2014 locally. Notice the blue line too on this chart, how it peaked really about where that 12 MMT designation is, back there in 2003, 2004. It's been this long slide down since then. We've gotten some recovery going on. This is what excited me about what you were talking about, Shannon. You've got to attract more and more businesses in here so that we can get that long-term sluggishness turned around. Because if we don't, based on what I see on this trend, here's a forecast for you. This area is going to turn into West Virginia, where everybody's related to everybody else. Literally. You've got to get some fresh blood in here. All right? You've got to divest the gene pool a little bit here. Get some fresh talent coming into this area. That's got to be a huge challenge, but it's your opportunity also as a chamber. Home prices are going up in Wisconsin. Home prices are going up in the Appleton and Oshkosh area. And we think that these prices are generally going to keep rising between now and around 2030. This is a long-term rising trend. Make sure you are buying homes that are on water, have a view, or are in an urban area. Those are the three economic locations that you care about. Water, view, urban areas, or metro areas. Do that and you'll see nice ongoing capital appreciation. A few negative issues like our national debt. If you add up all the government debt in this country, it equals 123.8% of our GDP, which is the worst that we've seen since World War II. I am one of those economists that will tell you that that trend line, as of today, is not a problem. The operative word being today. Because today the U.S. government bond yield is below 3%. It's around 2.85%, 2.9%. And at that level of interest, we can carry that debt. But how long are we going to stay at that level of interest? All trends revert to the mean. You know what the mean 10-year bond yield is for the United States? It's 5%, not 3%. And at 5%, the amount of interest that the amount of money we'll be spending on interest expense as a government, given that trend line, means that our cash outflow for interest will equal that for Social Security in the face of an aging demographic. It is going to be a huge consumer of our tax dollars, which means government will have a lot less money to do other things, which means they're going to be digging deeper and deeper into your pockets. And sequestration is not the answer. The upper purple line, according to the Congressional Budget Office, is federal spending out through 2023. And the lower blue line is federal spending projected out through 2023 after sequestration. All this fight about sequestration, all the brouhaha, shutting down the government, was about that little dinky bit of white space between these two trend lines. Clearly, sequestration is not going to save our bacon. As your economist is sure, I'm telling you that we do not have a taxation problem in the United States. We have a spending problem in the United States. And we haven't begun to figure out how to address that at the very same time that our government wants to take over the healthcare industry. Look at this chart. What I've circled in red here, the black line, shows you how much money we spend on ourselves as we age. And from 58 years old and on, we're nothing like anybody else on this planet. We will spend an untoward amount of money on ourselves as we age. Has anybody in this room not heard of an 86-year-old who's gotten a new knee, or a 94-year-old who's gotten a new hip, or bypass surgery at 94? I mean, I'm an economist, folks. It's all about cost-benefit analysis. And that flunks the cost-benefit analysis test. And there are going to be more and more people like me in that age group sucking up all these healthcare dollars. How many of you are under the age of 44? Show your hands if you're under the age of 44. All right, here's my message to you. You're screwed. Old is gold, baby. We're going to be sucking the dollars out of your pocket like crazy. What we need to do is stop this. Then we can either change the culture so that we stop it, or we change the rules of the game so that we stop it, or the next generation, you younger generations, you've got to take matters into your own hands. I strongly encourage you to visit old people in hospitals. Stand close to their beds and bow your head and pray or meditate, whatever it is that you want to do. And if you're doing this right, in about 60 seconds, an alarm's going to go off. And I want you to jump back. I want you to say, oh, was that your air hose? Might be. So sorry. And like any good prescription, you repeat on the next floor. But we've made a fatal flaw. We've raised a terribly moral and ethical generation that refuses to get rid of us. So society's going to have to come up with that solution. And a classic American solution to something this huge is war. We're going to end up going to war. But if we're smart about it, in this war, we'll send only old people. It'll be a slow war. Very little happens in the afternoon. We stop this trend dead in its tracks. But we have to incentivize people my age and older to not consume those healthcare dollars, which is a lot trickier and a lot longer conversation than we have time for. I want to show you some good trends that are going on before our time runs out. One of those, the extremely positive trend, is this U.S. dependence on foreign oil and how it's declining. In 2013, it went down to 32.3% of the oil we consume came from foreign sources. That's been a trend that's been going on since 2006. We cracked through the 50% line in 2010, and you see we've made tremendous strides going forward. In 2013, the United States moved above Russia in terms of an oil-producing country. And according to the International Energy Administration, by 2020 to 2025, somewhere in through there, the United States will be producing more barrels of oil per day than will Saudi Arabia. Can you dig what that means? It means that instead of running our perennial trade deficits where we're hemorrhaging petrodollars out to the rest of the world, in the foreseeable future we're harvesting those dollars back in. For those of you who have been wondering about why the dollar isn't going cascading downward despite our debt, why people still want to hold the dollar, this is why. This is a huge competitive advantage that we're building for ourselves. With the electricity costs, half of that of Europe, averaging about half of that of Eastern Canada. Huge competitive advantage. And a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built. Another great trend that's going on is U.S. manufacturing as a percent of GDP, and this is one that I was excited to show you about from the very beginning. See how GDP is increasingly comprised of manufacturing. We haven't seen that trend go on in the United States in forever. That is huge. We're back. All the articles you've read about inshoring or near sourcing are true. Because we have an extremely competitive labor force in terms of efficiency, productivity, because we have a relatively stable economic, political environment, because our electricity costs are so low, because we have the energy supply of the future. Because of a lot of things, we are where people want to be making things. And that plays right into your strength. There's two countries where this is going on, Mexico and the United States. I think Mexico is going to be a very, very exciting foreign market for a lot of us going forward. Now, when I say that, invariably, the majority of people think, doesn't he read the newspapers? I mean, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of problems going on in Mexico. To which I respond, don't you have vice presidents? Don't you have B-team salespeople you can send there? We said you send your best and your brightest. Come on. That's why we created vice presidents, for goodness sake. Do that sort of stuff. I wanted to show you this chart. It's very controversial, but I'm big on telling you the truth about America. You're looking at government data. It comes to us from the Bureau of the Census. And look at the little table at the bottom. You see we have the income stream divided into three broad categories, being defined as earning between $50,000 and $200,000 a year. The second column is the percent of households in 1967 that were earning that money. And then fast forward to 2009, the latest available data, we have the same percent of households. Now this is adjusted for inflation. So 50,000 in 1967, adjusted for it, we're saying 50,000 equivalent in 2009. And look, the bottom income earners, those earning less than 50,000, has actually decreased in inflation-adjusted dollars. And the middle income level, 55 to 200K, has actually gone from 39% up to 46%. This is the government's own data. What I want you to see is that the old adage about if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth, is true. Because the government's own data is showing you that the middle class in America is not dead or dying. It's alive and well and growing. Both in terms of income and in terms of the assets they have. Stanford University did an excellent study looking at middle class, whether it's growing or not. And instead of looking at income, they measured it by what's the standard of living like for these people? How much luxury are they living in? And according to Stanford University, between when Ronald Reagan was president and as of about 5 years ago, the middle class in America had grown by about 50%. Our economic system works. There are those who want to tell you that it doesn't work. There are those who are being left behind, and seeing 50% of the people make less than 50K is not acceptable. What I'm proposing to you today is that before you start tinkering with the system because you don't think it's doing a good enough job, you're going to make sure that you're not making it do a worse job. Because the system has been working. Here's a factoid for you. According to the UN and just about any other international agency, hunger on this planet is going down year after year. Hunger in the United States is becoming less and less of a problem year after year. There was a UN study that showed that between 1967 and the year 2000, population on planet Earth doubled. And if you're my age or you're a little bit older, you grew up in the 1970s, you're reading books about how that was going to mean there's going to be mass starvation, there's going to be riots, civil unrest, Arab Springs every year. And none of that happened. And the UN study showed that between 1967 and the year 2000, while the population on planet Earth doubled, the number of people going hungry fell. It didn't fall as a percent of a doubled population, it fell in absolute terms. There were fewer people going hungry in 2000 than in 1967, and there are fewer people going hungry in 2013 compared to 2000. And the UN report showed that the major catalyst for that improvement, the major catalyst for that change, is American capitalism. So we better be darn sure we want to start tinkering with our American capitalism and giving away our ability to be managers and owners of capital. Because you and I think we're going to work every day to make our life for ourselves, our families, maybe our workers, our communities. We don't stop to realize that what we're doing has a much, much broader impact than that. You aren't impacting Appleton, you're impacting the world. The United States is 21.9% of the global economy. Do you know what percent of the world's population we Americans are? Very good, Larry. 4.5. Did you hit that bell, by the way? You know what that means? It means somewhere, someplace, an economy.